There are a lot of things going on with pitching mechanics. Down from where your arm slot should be, how much should you load in that back hip, should you rotate when you're there, or do you need to explode and get a little bit of a longer stride when you're pitching? Every pitcher has a slightly different mechanics, but there are certain prerequisites or landmarks that we want to hit for every pitcher in order to make them an efficient pitcher. And what efficient means essentially is when I look at somebody, do their hips rotate before their upper back rotates? So their upper back rotate a little bit before their arm, and then does the ball lag behind, and then do they decel? Do they stop in the same manner? So does the lower half kind of stop before the front half, before the top half, to the arm, to the ball, where you release when it travels forward? So you're just adding those forces from the ground up in order to create the highest velo possible. One of those mechanical faults that you see commonly is what you a lot of times hear as the lead leg block. And what the lead leg block is it's your front leg. What that is, when you stride at foot contact, you should have a knee that's slightly bent, but then when you come forward, this knee, if I would draw a line straight down to the ground, it should not travel forward as you come forward as well. What that does is, as soon as you hit the ground and travel forward and kind of propel yourself forward, that's taking all the force from the ground that you just created by stopping and creating a rotational force around that axis in order to get that ball to travel as hard as you can. Now, there's several reasons why you may be limited in the lead leg block, where you see when you land that it travels forward with you. Some of them may be a power standpoint, where you can't actually physically accept the weight, the energy that you created going forward. Or the most foundational level is actually a movement issue. Does your hip rotate enough? The most common fault that I see is if I look at what's called hip internal rotation of that lead leg. So what hip internal rotation is if I sit somebody down, and you can look at it yourself, if I sit somebody down, put their knees straight forward, so I typically have them put a fist in between their knees, and that's about as far as I want the knees to be around. Bring one leg back as you rotate your foot outward. That's actually rotating that hip inward, so that's internal rotation. Now you can feel from side to side. You'll notice my right side, my back side, rotates a little bit further this way than my front side, my lead leg, which is probably why I'm not a major league pitcher. That's a good cause why I don't have good pitching mechanics. Now, the reason why that helps and helps you stop that lead leg is your body is going to take the path of least resistance when it throws. And what that means is, where you see that internal rotation is when you stride, your foot's here, this hip is not actually rotating anymore, but your pelvis rotates down on the hip. So if you're looking from straight forward, you're here, your stride, your hip rotates down, and that is actually the rotation from the hip that we just looked at when I was sitting. And what happens is, if you can't physically rotate down into this, you're somewhere else in your body has to make up that rotation, and a lot of times it's your knee, because that's the easiest spot. Your trunk's pretty stable. Your knee is pretty far away. So what happens is your knee just kind of caves out with it and continues the bend instead of actually pushing you backwards or staying stable as you rotate on your knee. So if it continues to travel forward, it has no ability to be able to transfer that force back up through your body up to the ball to create that velo. So if you notice, if you watch your videos and you notice your knee is coming forward when you're at foot contact, so when your heel hits and your knee continues to travel forward, you may not just have hip internal rotation. So work on that. See if you can improve that. Sit down, see how much you have on that lead leg, and see if you can do some stretching, some foam rolling, some mobility exercises, and see if you can improve that. If you do improve it, go back to the mound. See if that changed any of that lead leg block. If you struggle with getting that internal rotation from that lead hip yourself, seek somebody out. There are physical therapists, athletic trainers. There's several people that would be willing to help you out to help get that mechanical fix, get that mobility fixed, so that you can continue to work with your pitching coach and get to solve that problem a little bit quicker. If you need somebody, feel free to reach out to me. I am more than happy to help you out.